Hey, welcome, Safety Man, safetyman.co, Safety Man Consulting, at Safety Man CO on all social media. Here we're going to talk about what the safest and legal way is if you get contacted by law enforcement while you're carrying a handgun. Presumably, you have a legal reason to carry it, such as a permit to carry a handgun. Some people are calling it CCW, although the law isn't exactly straight on whether it has to be concealed or open carry. So I'm going to go through a bunch of different types of holsters. I'm going to show you a few different types of car stops, and I'm going to give you some guidance on making it safe for you and, of course, safe for all my brother and sister officers out there that are still enforcing the law. Now remember, we're in New Jersey. This is really new. We've had probably 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 people apply. I've sent about 50 through. I've got about 6 people who have applied. So at that ratio, we're probably only about 10,000 people who probably didn't have a gun a couple weeks ago who are now carrying legally in New Jersey. So let's make this safe. Let's not be the example. Let's not give anyone a reason to say, see, I told you that these private citizens were not capable or able to carry a concealed firearm. Now, number one, let's look at the different types of carry methods, okay? So what I'm carrying now is an outside the pants concealed holster, okay, with just a little bit of retention, okay? I like a little bit of retention in my holster because then I can reholster it and then reconceal it and come back to that ready position. There are many types of holsters, okay? So I could take this holster off, take the weapon out. I could put it in another inside the pants holster, which just fits the gun, but it has no actual retention and it just has pressure on it. So when I go to draw the gun comes out, it comes in, look at the holster, put the gun back in and come back out. So that's another different type of holster that we could carry. A third type of holster would be an ankle holster. And you've seen me demonstrate these ankle holsters on my videos before, where it wraps around through Velcro, tightens up, runs down, pants come over it. I usually wear these with 3/4 boots. It rises up a little higher and it's much more concealed. It's optimal if you're going to be driving a lot because it's much closer. If you're standing up and you need to get that gun quickly, it's going to be a little bit harder to bend down on a knee, as I tell people to do. Draw, come out, and come to that firing position. Again, it can kind of be easy to go ahead and reholster. So let's remove that one. And now we're going to get to some that a lot of people are carrying inside the pants. Okay, there's no real retention other than the pressure of the gun. So you can carry inside the pants in 2 ways. You can carry it over on the side, lock it in, conceal it. It's very concealable. Tends to be a little more uncomfortable if you have a little bit of girth around here. It's much more concealable, but it tends to be a little more uncomfortable. The reason I like the hard plastic is because when I draw the gun and present it, I'm done with the gun, I clear, I check, I can come back, look at my holster, and I can reholster it with one hand. Now, people are also taking these holsters and they're carrying them appendix carry, which is perfectly fine. You just have to use more care and caution. Appendix carry is okay while driving, but just remember that lap belt is going to come right across that appendix carry holster, and all those crash forces, should you get to a motor vehicle crash, are going to concentrate on that gun into your pelvis and then potentially to your groin. But it's a good holster to draw and carry from, and it's very, very concealable. Always make sure I look and reholster very slowly. Okay, we're going to take this off, and I'm just going to show you a couple other ones that we can look at. I'm not a big proponent of off-body carry, but they do make holsters that are specifically for that. Okay, holster zips up. It's going to go across the body, and there's a pull tab for it. Goes over the shoulder and just kind of hangs like this. I need the gun. I take this tab, pull straight down, gun comes out and comes in like that. I can carry an extra magazine in here. I can carry a flashlight, my wallet, my ID, my badge, a knife, anything I want. I could reholster if I needed to. Obviously, you can see it's not the best under stress, but it is a very comfortable way. Just got to remember that you got to keep this thing on you. If you're going to run, this thing is going to bounce all around. Okay, and then finally, the final holster that we will talk about will be everybody's favorite. This is the one I used to always get my wagons broken on, is the typical fanny pack, right? Wrap it around, clip it in the back, and the gun would go right in here. Okay, the fanny pack holster. You have room down here for 2 magazines or a magazine and a flashlight. The zippers come up. And when you need the gun, you pull on this tab, down hard, gun out, and then you're ready to go. And then you can reholster if you need to on that. So those are the types of holsters, the general types of holsters that we could have. Now we want to get into what the purpose of this video is how are we going to handle being pulled over by a police officer? Police department. Hi, I'm Officer Safety Man from your local police department. Sir? How you doing, sir? I'm Sergeant Safety Man from your friendly police department. The reason I'm stopping you is for speeding. This is being recorded. Is there any lawful reason for that?
I believe I'm supposed to tell you I have a concealed firearm and I have a legal permit for it. What's your pleasure?
Okay, sir. Thank you for your cooperation. So, let's say we're carrying appendix style. Gotta find which one of these holsters I left my gun in. Okay, we're carrying appendix style in our car. So we'll get rid of all these holsters. We'll bring my motor vehicle car seat out here, right? And we're sitting in our car and we get pulled over. Officer walks up. We could do a couple of things and you'll see some demonstration of car stops. The best thing that we're going to do, keep our seatbelt on, keep our hands on the steering wheel, keep a nice face, roll all the windows down, turn the interior lights on. Don't go digging and reaching and diving for anything. Don't get your license, don't get your registration, don't get your permit to carry, don't get anything else. Just wait for the officer to come and make his or her introduction and let him or her guide the stop. So you'll be sitting there, you'll be waiting, your windows will be down. The officer should walk up either driver's side or passenger side. There may be 2 officers, one on each side, but only one will do the talking. He'll walk up, she'll walk up and say, "Hey, I'm Officer Safety Man from your friendly police department. The reason I'm stopping you is XYZ. Is there any reason for that? Is everything okay?" And then you'll say, "I'm sorry, officer. I'm carrying a concealed weapon. I think I'm supposed to let you know that. And I do have a valid permit for it. What is your pleasure? What would you like me to do?" And then let the officer guide you through it. He may or may not want to see the weapon. He may or may not want to see your permit. He may or may not want to disarm you. If he does, comply. If you feel your rights are being violated, that is not the time to argue. You just tell the officer once again politely why you're complying and why you're slowly, methodically following the instructions. Say, "Just so you know, officer, I have this permit. It's signed by Superior Court Judge Cook. I got it 2 weeks ago. I'm carrying in my appendix a Glock 19 9mm. It's fully loaded, one in the chamber for our safety. What would you like to do? What is your pleasure, sir? I want you to take the gun out of the holster and put it on the seat next to you. I want you to take the holster and the gun and put it on the seat next to you." If you feel it's unsafe, you'll say, "Well, officer, it's an appendix holster and I'd rather not do that. How about if I step out and do that," or whatever. Do what you need to do to be safe, but we're going to be asking the officer. We're not going to be argumentative. We're not going to have an attitude. Officers may not be aware of this. This may be the first time they're encountering it. Having been an officer for 27 years, when we hear or see the word gun in New Jersey, we were always taught to draw our gun, and we knew somebody was getting arrested because we did not have citizens carrying concealed weapons. So it's going to be a learning curve. And my goal with this video is so none of us, I'm a retired officer now, I have no more powers than anybody else. So none of us become the example, become the one that's going to be on the news, become the reason that they're going to say that's why they shouldn't have guns because they can't follow instructions. Okay? So we're going to follow their instructions. Number 2, roll your windows down, turn your lights on, hands on the steering wheel, turn your stereo down. Don't admit to anything that you did wrong. Just say, I'm sorry, officer. I think I'm supposed to tell you that I'm carrying a concealed weapon and I have a valid permit for it. What is your pleasure? Practice that sentence, make it automatic, and then do what he or she tells you. No sudden movements. If you're not carrying on your person, say your weapon is someplace in your glove box or it's in your center console, so you know when you open your glove box and to get your registration, your insurance card out, there's going to be a gun in there, and the passenger officer on the passenger side is going to see it. You tell him, my gun is in a holster and it's in the center console. My gun is in a holster, it's in the glove box. I just don't want it to alert you when I open it to get my documents. So let them know. They may tell you, okay, do you mind if we open your glove box, remove the firearm and do that? If you look at the video that I sent before this, it says that if the officer feels that the encounter can be safer by the officer separating you from the firearm temporarily during the encounter, he or she can do that. They will have to articulate it. You will have the right to fight that in court if you so choose to. Someone asked a question. I was asking for questions for this video, and the question was, what gives the officer the right if he or she sees or believes that you are carrying a weapon, whether you're walking or driving or you're in a store, to come up to you and ask you if you're carrying that weapon legally? Again, this is new. This is New Jersey. We're not used to this, and it's called a mere inquiry. The officer can come up to you and say, hey, I'm Officer Safety Man from your friendly police department. The reason I'm talking to you is some customers indicated that it looked like you're carrying a weapon. Do you have a license to carry that weapon, sir, ma'am? If so, could you show it to me, please? If you refuse to do that, the officer can then read the situation and take additional steps. And in the law, in the prosecutor's memo, which I read to you, look at the video before, it says that the officer can then seize the weapon until you can provide a valid permit, and then they can contact the state to determine if your failure to comply with those instructions was enough to revoke your permit. I tell you what I would do. I'm going to comply 100% of the time. I don't care. They can ask me 100 times. They can ask me every day. I don't care. It's fine. I know I'm not doing anything wrong. I've been carrying a gun concealed for 30 years. I've never had an officer ask me. I've never had anyone ever approach me and say, hey, are you carrying a gun, for any reason, even on a car stop. So I wouldn't make so much of a big deal about it. If you are contacted, be calm, be professional. If the officer is being unprofessional, if the officer chooses to seize the weapon, if the officer chooses to arrest you, you comply. If you're within the law, you weren't doing anything wrong, you're carrying the gun that is on the permit is valid, you're not intoxicated, you're not in a place that's prohibited, none of these other laws have taken effect yet, you will win a civil suit in court for false arrest. Win in court. Comply on the street. Officers are trained to win on the street. Comply or die. You do not want to get into that battle on the street. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Whatever you need, I will comply. Here's my weapon. If he needs to arrest me, I will get up. I will gladly turn around. I will put my hands behind my back, and he can arrest me if he or she needs to, and then I will win in court. All right? This has been Safety Man. I want to look for more questions. If you disagree with anything I said, throw them in the comments below and we'll talk about it. My goal for you is to always stay safe and be ready.